Amani Dennis joins the show. The Philadelphia Stars sign a new wide receiver. Playoff tickets are on sale. All that and more on episode 59 of the USFL podcast.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to another amazing edition of the USFL podcast. I'm the ref representing USFL Newsroom, the leaders in USFL news. And it's a horrible week. It's a bad week. It's quite possibly the worst week ever. Zach, we got a lot to talk about. How you doing? Because your team didn't hold up their side of the bargain. That's all I'm saying. They didn't hold up their side of the bargain. I'm all out on week 7.
You're right. After we recorded episode 58, you won me over. I became a Gamblers fan for a week. I said, you know what? That's great. This team, I'm all in too, baby. I'm all in. And you know what? They didn't pan out this week. They'll get him next week. Don't worry.
They are.
Because it happens. It just happens every now and then. We're going to get that win this week against the Maulers. Ain't that right?
We are.
Isn't that right? Where's your Panthers gear? I thought you had your Panthers gear.
Like I said, they didn't hold up to their end of the bargain. The whole deal with me being the Panther, the number one Panthers fan, was that they were going to continue to lose so my gamblers could win. Ref's law in full effect.
The truth has come out, and it's not the ref's law. I went on Twitter. I made damn sure. It is the Zach law, man. If I don't root for my fandom and I root for someone else's, it usually flips, which means I got my win. Now I got to do that the rest of the year.
I don't think it's going to work that way. We'll have to see.
We'll see.
We'll have to see. But before we get into the show, because we got a lot to talk about, a lot to go over, let's go over the housekeeping items. Social media, what the hell are you doing at USFL Podcast? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We even got that TikTok, baby. Go get signed up because we're always dropping good news, good times, good conversation. Questions of the week when we decide to do it. That's where you need to go at USFL Podcast. But since we're over on YouTube as well, this is what you need to do. If you're looking at our pretty faces, look right below the screen. If that subscribe button's ready, it's red, go ahead and click it. And go ahead and click the bell. It builds morale. And there's some of us, Zachy boy, that need a little bit of morale this week. I'm all in on needing a little bit of morale. But the good news is if you get signed up, if you subscribe, if you click that bell, get that morale, you're also entered into our 5,000 subscriber giveaway. And what do you get? Well, you have the chance to earn yourself a brand new, bright and shiny USFL jersey from the official shop. So make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe. We're less than 2K away, and you're not going to want to miss out. You also like merch? We got more merch from Breaking Tea. Head over to breakingtea.com/USFL Newsroom or simply use the code USFL Newsroom for 10% off your order. Zach, I know you're loving life, pun intended, because they got a Josh Love shirt over there ready for you. And I'll tell you, every Panthers fan I know said they're ready to buy that Josh Love shirt, so you know you're going to want to get it before that baby sells out.
Well, I too love the hunt. It is the phrase I would say. I love the hunt when it's a good hunt, when it's a clean hunt, when we don't fumble our hunting gear. If you catch my drift,
I mean,
we don't throw it away to the wild animals. Turnover humor.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know what? If you buy the shirt, they might get another win. So go ahead and save yourself 10% off at Breaking Tea. But the last thing on the list is the biggest thing on the list. It's also the biggest party of the summer. Come and join us for Summer Stock. Boy, oh boy, we're 4 weeks away from day one of Summer Stock today. Day one, you're saying, yes. We're going June 30th and July 1st. So nice. We're doing it twice, spanning 2 months. Come and get signed up. Day one, 5 p.m. Central. We're all Eastern, actually. 5 p.m. Eastern. We're all meeting up at the Pro Football Hall of Fame for a group tour. I got to go get the flag. I've been looking at them on Amazon. I'm going to get it signed up. But you should come and meet us. Come get some history. Maybe we'll get a picture in front of that USFL exhibit. We got it in front of the building last year. We got it in front of a dumpster at the Motor City meetup. So I think maybe we should try something a little bit different, a little bit more appeasing, and get that championship trophy with our championship group tour, because one day later, we're meeting up for the biggest party of the summer, Summer Stock Day 2, July 1st, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're meeting. The party's in the parking lot. I don't care if there's rain, if there's snow in the middle of the summer. We're partying in that parking lot. We're having a tailgate. Word on the streets, we might have some ribs, we might have some burgers, but we're also going to have good guests, good times, and giveaways. And we like to have a blast. If you can't make it to Ohio, we get it. You can join us over on YouTube as well. We're going to be throwing the biggest pregame show of the weekend. And Zach, the things that we're working on in the background will surely make this one of, if not the biggest event we've thrown so far.
Yes, it will. I really want to say what might be happening, but of course things have to fall a certain way. But I can't wait until we get to at least announce the guest list. Definitely gonna have some of our own guys on hand. That'll be great conversation. Definitely going to be getting some folks from the league itself. So, just stay tuned. We're working. We're going to have the details. It's a month out right now as we're talking. And we're going to make sure that it is the biggest bash of the summer for spring football that you are going to be enjoying out at the beautiful Hall of Fame stadium there. Tom Benson at Canton, Ohio. Going to be a blast. Can't wait to get out there. I'm finally have some of my own stuff to get out there too. Mm-hmm. So, sooner rather than later. I almost want to accelerate that. Let me pull out the click it remote.
I know, right? I know.
Come on.
As much
hit that fast forward button.
It's crazy to me. We're already approaching week 8, and it makes me a little sad, but at the same time, it makes me happy because we're so close to summer stock. Now, I have a question for you, Zachy boy. Did you put your cards in your suitcase?
Not yet.
We're going to ask this question every week. And if Zach doesn't have his cards at this damn show, nobody can say I didn't warn you. But we're going to make it happen. The answer is always yes. The answer is always yes, Zach.
I have a little anecdote that because you might notice I have this slimmer haircut. You didn't notice, otherwise you said something.
I didn't.
But I'm messing around.
I have hair blindness. I don't know if I've ever talked about that.
I get a haircut. Someone's like, "Oh, look, your USFL shirt. I watch the league too." And she's really sweet, sweet barber and all that. But I come up and I go, "Hey, I do this show," and of course, no cards. She's right down the road, so
you gotta get her one.
This ain't like I'm drifting through town and I got nothing to.
You should see. For it or anything. You should see how many of these cards I slang, Zach. I was at the meat counter at Kroger not too long ago. Older guy, he says, "That a USFL hat?" I said, "Damn straight it is." He says, "Is that a podcast?" I sure is. I gave him the card. And you know what? Last time I went and picked up some ground beef, he said he liked the show. Sign up the meat man from Kroger. Hopefully you're watching. But I'll tell you, I'm handing those cards out to everybody. Everybody, even if they don't want them. I'm like, "Hey, did you know I'm on the USFL podcast, baby? You should check it out." They're like, "I don't even know what football is." Doesn't matter. Give us a view. Click the bell. It builds morale. Get signed up. Maybe you'll win a football jersey. Who knows?
That too.
Yeah.
Good perks, by the way, for that card. Good perks. But yeah, just fun little story. But yeah, you can keep asking me that all you please. I swear to God, a box will come with me. I'm looking at a box right in front of me right now, off camera, that is full of those cards. It's sitting right here on my desk.
We'll get there. The answer is yes. Reason. We'll make sure they're there.
It is yes.
We'll make sure it's there.
It's yes.
But
yes, they will be there.
But before we get to week 8 or even the playoffs or the championship game, we got a whole week to talk about here. And my God, Zach, what a week it was. Every game close as it can get, all within one possession. A little bit of a shocker on some of these. I'm going to run through them all, and then we'll break them down one by one. First up was the Birmingham Stallions and the New Orleans Breakers, and possibly the biggest matchup of the weekend. At the end of it all, the Stallions came out on top 24-20. Moving on to the late game in the afternoon, we had the Stars and the Maulers, both putting up a good game, a lot more offense than I think anybody expected. The Stars come out on top and solidify their role in the North, 37-31. Moving on to Sunday, we had the Gamblers and the Showboats, and boy, oh boy, I don't think anybody could have anticipated this game. It really came down close at the end when it looked like the Showboats were going to run away, but the Showboats ultimately pull it out 23-20, and the Panthers find a way to get a win. It makes sense because they weren't playing at Ford Field. Unfortunately for the Generals, they lose 25-22 to the Panthers. No curtains, because, and we'll probably drop this clip on Twitter. Zach, you can attest. I usually do these things one take. I don't even like to cut the podcast episodes, but I couldn't brain. During this. I probably took 5 takes of that, and it wasn't even that great. But we're sticking with it. We got through it. We're done.
I love how funny that was. that should not have been as hilarious as it should have been, but. Here we are, 5 takes in, and now we finally got it done. Anticipated is removed.
Yeah, that's all we had to do. We had to get rid of anticipated. I don't know why. My brain, I would say the word, I would get to the part of the sentence, and and you'll notice I didn't say anticipated. Now I could say it all day and night. Doesn't matter.
Bailing on it, if it helps, it helps.
Hey, you know what? I have no shame, and I have no curtains.
It got things done.
Yeah.
It got the job done. Just like how the Stallions got their job done in this first contest against the Breakers. What they needed? They need revenge on one of their 2 South opponents that they had lost to kick things off, at least early on in the year. Remember, the first matchup was a matchup with 2 2-0 teams where a 45-31 contest was the decision. Stallions defense couldn't do anything all day against the New Orleans Breakers, but Stallions are catching themselves at the right time. They are finding a little bit more of an identity, something that Joel Klatt in broadcast pointed out that they didn't really have, but I think they did find their identity. Besides Alex Magoo doing some magic, they got some RPO going, and CJ Marable sneakily is getting better every week. He's been climbing up that rushing chart a little bit by bit. He's now 4th in the league in rushing through this time of year. I mean, credit, that's only 387 yards, but feasibly, he's been on a tear.
Oh, sure.
He's been producing a lot. 123 total yards this past week. I believe on 23 touches, if memory serves. It was definitely 20-plus touches, but 123 total yards. They found their identity, I think. Rushing through him. And then the passing game, Deion Kane helped a lot. They got Jay Sternberger back involved. That was good. They have a passing unit that's great. And defensively, they've fixed and retooled some items to where they are much more sound than they were back in week 3. Injuries and health have helped a ton. JoJo Tillery returning was a massive addition back, and he's been getting better since he's gotten healthier. New Orleans, though, I mean, I want to hear your thoughts on this specifically because 3-game backslide. The second half, when it was basically like panic mode, they looked kind of like themselves. But same stuff's happening. Turnovers, miscues. They can't protect MBT like they used to. And MBT, you can tell, he's just getting frustrated.
Well,
this man is like slowly getting to a boiling point.
You know what I learned this week? I learned that McLeod Bethel Thompson is not superstitious at all. At all. And you know how I learned that? Because I don't know of anybody that's shaving a beard like that mid-season. Maybe
that was criminal.
Maybe I grew up on too much hockey. I mean, I know we're not in the playoffs yet, right? But you're getting to that end season, and I can see maybe he is super superstitious, and he got rid of it because they lost their mojo, and he thought maybe he needs a change. I don't know, but I know it didn't work. It was a close game. Don't get me wrong. But the Stallions, I don't know. There's just something about them. They have just a little bit more oomph in them. And like you said, Magoo is the magic man in the Magic City in that game, just kind of doing what he does best. And, I mean, at the end of the day, whether it's a 4-point lead or a 40-point lead, the W is all that matters. And now all of a sudden, who's leading the South? Good old Stallions after, I mean, what was it? 2 weeks ago, Zach, in our Discord, it was melt down mode. Just
It was.
They couldn't believe it. They thought they were donezo. And you know what? I get it. When you take a loss to the best team ever, the Houston Gamblers, all in,
Yeah, well,
it hurts a little bit. But I mean, sometimes you're going to lose to the best. Now, you're not going to lose to the Breakers, though, because they're not the Gamblers. I get it. But you did get the win. You move your standings up. And flukes happen, as we'll talk about, not in the next game, but the game after. We'll get into the future of this team, but if I'm a Stallions fan, I am feeling pretty comfortable now. My meltdown from a couple weeks ago, maybe not so as impactful as the streak going here.
Familiar face back on top, so awkwardly, but it is Skip Holtz. Even with what was a meltdown a few weeks ago against Houston, I will not let that one die. That was a meltdown.
Sure.
And they deservedly so lost on that. Although I will say, and I will defend some awkward officiating I would say officiating or certain ways of looking at the game in this one at the end. Because, I mean, I don't know, JoJo Tillery, the whole thing with the 1 yard line touchback ruling, I get that frustration because I'm like Joel, like the freeze frame doesn't do it enough justice. And it's like you have to be grasping at straws to change that is kind of how I'm feeling. Or at least you have to be like very nitpicky. And then something about like the ball placement with that incompletion from Jonathan Adams. Like you remember that sequence? They move the ball up after they rule it incomplete.
Coach
and then you
Flip.
see both coaches going, what in the world is going on?
Man,
they're like, oh yeah, Doy, it is back this way. I'm like, yes, it was back this way. Who told you to move it up to the 44? Because no one did. It was incomplete. Like they did the ruling and they still moved the ball.
Yeah, that one, I know a lot of people were confused about that in the Discord. A lot of people were confused about that in Twitter. And I mean, as we saw on TV, people were confused about it on the sidelines. Both coaches are like, what is going on here? Coach Flip, though, I mean, God bless his soul, because he looked like he wanted to go a little hard on that guy. I mean, he was not enjoying what he was seeing on the sidelines, I'll tell you.
When the hands start moving around like this and he's doing, hey now, what's going on? you know something's up.
Yeah.
He's got to talk to somebody really quick. And D Filippo's easy. If he gets a face that's like cherry red, he's a little like he's the classic angry guy. When something's not going his way, he gets red faced.
Yep.
Like it's obvious now through this 3-game losing streak. Unfortunately for any Breakers fans out there, but that's how he is. And I mean that was confusing, but like they did come within a bit of a wire, but like missed opportunities again. You have turnovers. West Hills with that early fumble leads to a possession in the opposite direction. You can't convert touchdowns when they're needed. Sloppy football again. And time's kind of running out. I love these interviews that Coach DiFilippo does at WGNO New Orleans with Aaron Lee over there. It's really awesome, by the way, if they're looking to go to New Orleans soon enough, which, hey, maybe we are talking about that on the side based on something I'll discuss later on. But that being said, he's right. Every game is basically now like an elimination game because they put themselves in that situation. 4-3 for a reason. Funny enough, they're still right there for the playoff spot, but I mean, I don't know. Like it feels weird. They just have completely fallen off the tracks.
It's eerily similar to last season, even though it's a different coach, a lot of different players,
and no
but
injuries
eerily,
either.
It's
healthy
eerily
quarterback.
The same. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but there's still plenty of the time in the season. Like you said, Zach, it's really anybody's game in the South. In the North, well, as we'll talk about here, somehow, some way, the Stars are pulling away in the North. They took out the Maulers. Now, I don't think anybody anticipated to see the offense that we saw in this game. 37-31. It was really down to the last quarter, last minute even. Fun game to watch. Late night USFL. Who would have thunk it, man? Because keep in mind, this game started at 10 Eastern?
It was 9 Eastern. But I mean, it still ended at midnight.
Yeah.
Even like Case Cook he's going up to the camera. He's like, we can't, I really don't want to play these late games. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's not ideal, but if you want to watch, like, it's damn good football. You can argue it's best game of the week. You can argue with the best game of the week.
Yep.
And it was at 9:00 at night.
Yep. It was fun to watch. It's unfortunate for the Maulers, especially because I picked them last week. I was really thinking they were going to do it. I guess I just didn't have any confidence that the Stars would be able to put up. I mean, let's keep in mind, it would have been, 2 weeks since they had an offensive touchdown? 3 maybe?
Yeah, it was 2 plus. They got that first TD drive of the game, and that was what they said. 2 weeks without an offensive TD, and here we are. And of course, they put an explosion of 37 on the board. And this isn't like. Here's the thing that's funny. That score, like, again, this is what I love about football. That score doesn't tell you like jack about what happened. Like I think NBA. It's funny. The NBA, I always have considered like you can read a box score and you can learn what happened in a game pretty easily for most games. The NFL and USFL, any football, no, you need to like know what happened. Like watch highlight reels at the very least and dig in because there's 31 points for the Maulers, but that was a lot of we're talking special teams plays, we're talking defensive plays that got them on that other side. Philadelphia put up an offensive clinic on the best defense in the USFL.
Yep.
On Saturday night, it was a clinic.
Oh, it was a walloping, and I mean, again for a game that was on so late, I'm glad it kept me awake. Right, I want something with a little pep in its step when I'm watching, something like that, and you know what? They got the job done. I liked watching it. It's interesting to me because again, if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago who would be leading the North, the Stars would have been at the bottom of that list. There is no way I would have picked the Stars, but it's crazy. The Stars just somehow, some way, because even last year, they didn't have a very hot start, but then they picked up around mid-season. They got their pieces together. I mean, the coach ain't messing around over there, and we're going to talk about they even have some more additions coming up to the team. Man, are they really picking up at the right time of the season?
I'm glad you brought it up. This is a trend now. This is 2 years in a row, second half team. It's totally the case. Flipping the script. Offense looks just like what we remember coming towards the end of the year. They've got a run game. But again, something we talked about. Where the hell's the run? Where's Matt Colburn?
Right.
You know what Colburn did? 2 touchdowns, 82 yards on 20 carries, averaging 4.1 a clip. That 4 yards a clip is what I consider a good benchmark by itself for that. But he was a definitive piece of the offense that was causing havoc against, again, a good Maulers defense. Like overall, they usually smother opponents. That's their MO, is that they just slow the game down for themselves. And they let 37 on the board.
Oh yeah.
And credit, credit defensively, something else that Philadelphia is, again, second half team as well. They're catching on. They had 5 sacks. They were one of the worst in the league in getting pressures and sacks to start the first half of the year. They had 5 sacks. They almost doubled their production in one game. Adam Rodriguez has 4 sacks now. He's the second half defensive end because he ended second in sacks last year, and now he's back up in the top 5.
It's crazy. It's like somebody gives them a memo halfway through the season and says, hey, did you guys know the Stars have been in every USFL championship in the history of the league? And they say, gee, we have some catching up to do. And then we're in this situation.
People, we have a reputation to hold.
I mean, how long can it go on? Because, I mean, I'm feeling now, are the Stars the best team in the league? Not at all. Are they the best team in the North? Shoot, man, they might be. Might be.
Well, it still feels too early because this is just how the year is. But, like, it was a pretty decisive game. Like that one was a statement game where it's like, okay, all the cogs are moving. It feels like they're going in the right direction. I'm almost there.
Right.
I mean, I think, honestly, I'm not saying like this coming week is going to be a de facto, but if they do pull it off one versus one, then yeah, I mean, I got nothing to lose. I know exactly what we're coming up with, but hey, it's still, North is still kind of open until it's not open. So we'll find out.
Oh, sure. It's still, I mean, especially with that number 2 spot, there's so much movement, so many things that could happen up there.
About the 2 spot. Jesus.
My God. I mean, all I know is this is an exciting season of USFL football. Surely one of these playoff spots is coming down to that final week because we are like gridlocked every which direction.
This kills me. But speaking of like talking this last thoughts on this game, because obviously we can talk Philadelphia all day. They flipped the script. Basically taken that 2 and 3 everyone tied mentality. And when we get Amani on here, same deal, same thing. They're just playing a game by game basis. And ever since they got, like I said, ever since they got a whooping on defense against Houston, it's just been that, like, a consistent flip of the script. Pittsburgh, I look on the other end and I'm like, first off, I'm like, dang, put up 31. Even with some of the offensive deficiencies, special teams have been excellent in that foray this year. Punt returns, kick returns, you name it. They've been getting what they want out of that side of the squad. I thought defensively, again, it's pretty rough game for you, giving up 37. That's the worst game they've had all year, and they still put up a fight. Offense, I just don't know what to say anymore. It was funny. I thought 2 weeks ago, I thought they had it. I thought they finally got it all together. They come up, they beat Michigan, and we're going, that's it. Troy Williams and company, he's mobile. We give him enough time, he can throw it. And then Memphis, that shutout, I'm like, okay, maybe it's a fluke. They had some drives, they had a few turnovers, they cleaned the turnovers up, things are good, and they don't switch up QBs, and they didn't. And then you have 5 sacks, which at the beginning of the year was a problem because James Morgan was a statue.
Sure.
And that they were switching QBs. But now you had 5 sacks with your mobile quarterback. Okay, now we really have a problem.
Sure.
Because of the QB that can actually manipulate the pocket, can't stand back and deliver in said pocket and creates turnovers or is forced into situations. You got a lot to, I would say, desperately figure out. You're 2-5 right now. Defensively, you're still sound. It's good yard. I mean, you're playing Houston this week. Like, this is basically, I'm not saying you're out if you lose to the Gamblers this week, but you are kind of behind the 8 ball if you go 2-6. You are pretty much at the brink of the brink. Like, I am on my tiptoes on the side of the cliff.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't looking pretty. It ain't looking pretty if you're a Maulers fan. I mean, I think, me included, I was hoping to see maybe a little bit more oomph out of this team. I mean, we've seen glimpses of it. Like you said, a couple weeks ago, they came out, they shined, but they just can't seem to get it on a back-to-back basis. It's almost like we see last year's Maulers some games, and then this year's improved Maulers in other games. This was a game that they could have won. I feel like the Stars, they led the North going into this game, but barely. I mean, barely by record, but even we've seen those games, Zach. They won a game primarily because of Luis Aguilar, their kicker, right? And so when I see something like that, I'm like, this is a beatable team, right? This is a team that you should be able to go in there with your defense to shut them down. Maybe you're holding them to kicks, but if you can use that offense like you did against the Panthers, you can make something happen. They just couldn't muster it out. Now, maybe this is the week they'll rebound. I don't want it to. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, you definitely don't want it to be this week. I mean, not to mention, perfect segue, I guess, although not for the sake of your sanity, even though, we both decided to flip our own scripts and our own logic.
You can call it whatever you want. Ref's law states that the Houston Gamblers can only win with a Panthers loss. And this is, okay, my goodness, what a way. And, here's the thing. There are so many things that disappointed me in this game. It gave me a little bit of a heart attack, I'm not going to lie, because, the first half of the game, I'm like, what is going on here? Sure, we can come back. And then, you know what? That fourth quarter, I'm watching the game. I'm like, oh, is it Ron Paul, it's happening, .gif? Like, is it happening? Right? Because we got it down to a 3-point game. We're in a spot where we probably need just a few yards to attempt a field goal, even though Vogel has been kind of inconsistent this year. But you know what? Sometimes when it's on the line, that's your best shot. You get it done. They kept trying to go for it, kept trying to get some more yards, kept trying to get into scoring territory to get the touchdown. And they were so worried about that they they didn't manage the clock properly. Let's start there. And then they took the penalties that pushed them out of field goal range, even if they wanted to try. You have to go for it on 4th down, but you're 4th and long, and they just couldn't get it done. I would rather get shellacked than lose like that. You know what I mean? I would rather just get beat down, broken, than have a 3-point game that was winnable that we threw away in the last minute.
Well, you know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of a classic season 1 loss.
Sure.
Because of actually, not only that, it was a flip script of how the outcome of the previous matchup went. Think about it this way. The Memphis Showboats in this setup were up and were controlling the entirety of 3+ quarters. It looked like this one, if they didn't fool around in the fourth quarter with 2 drives where they do freaking 6 straight runs. I was yelling at the TV that they said, let's do 6 straight runs, 2 separate drives, 6 straight runs for 3 and outs. And so, yeah, Memphis fooling around. Houston comes back, figures out a few things in their passing scheme that they open up some holes. And then, of course, you see Mark Thompson run for that TD. I'm like, that's it. Because Memphis, I didn't see any life. I'm like, they're done. They fooled around too much. This was Todd Haley and company getting a little too cute. The run game is working this whole game, but they started leaning on it too much. It got predictable. And so next drive comes out. I'm like, no way. Like, I felt the same way against Houston, or when Houston faced Memphis the first time. I thought, there you go. Memphis has this done. Defense was coming to play second half. They're going to nail it down. But sure enough, magic happens. In that case, Derek Dillon, it's 2 weeks now. He's a hero in that city.
Sign him up.
2 weeks now. 64-yard touchdown pass. Catches it on a hook route. Breaks a tackle, busts that wide open. The highlight reel of hearing the natural audio with that crowd is one of my favorite feelings. I love hearing that stuff. That is a signature moment of a team and a fan base that is rallying behind what this team's doing right now. It's been special. So they get this, they lock it down. Great defensive stop. TJ Green gets that pick. Game over. Complete flip of the script. And I mean, Memphis, I still think offensively it's been ugly. When you have Cole Kelly throwing about 50% completion, it's a little ugly. Things still aren't 100% on all cylinders there. They found some game in the run game. Kareth White, former Chicago Bear, by the way, and Juwan Washington. They're getting some gains there. It's been good in that section. They're finding some rhythm. They have good receivers if they get a connection down, as you've seen. Derek Dillon coming back into the fray. Ryan McDaniel slipped in the background for some reason, but Vinny Papale, he's becoming the number 1 option right now. Last 2 weeks. They got good stuff going on. Defensively, though, that has been such a massive turn. If you told me after week 2 that the Showboats would have arguably currently the best looking defense in the USFL at this stage in the game, which they do. I'd love to hear someone tell me otherwise, because Pittsburgh didn't show it this week. And even New Jersey didn't show it this week. Really, it's been Memphis. Memphis has been getting pressures. They've been getting sacks. They're having fun. They've been shutting things down in the secondary. They look good. Like that has been a rallying piece of energy for that squad. And it shows that John Atkins deservedly got that co-defensive player of the week. 5 pass breakups at the line, 2 sacks. Forcing one of those pass breakups was a pick. That man dominated up front. And I love that his nickname's Big John in the locker room, too. It just adds a little bit extra character to that man.
100%.
But that defense, it's all energy. That is good feeling right now. Todd Haley and company, they started out with the grumps. You thought this was going to circle down. He has done an excellent job getting the troops to rally behind him, and that squad loves playing for each other right now. You can tell it every locker room session, every practice video you see, they love playing for each other. That is a great thing to have at this stage in the season.
No, 100%. Like we were talking about earlier with the Stars. I mean, the Showboats are picking the right time of season to find their rhythm, get into gear. I mean, it's unfortunate. Had they, they lost the first 3 games of the season. Had they just won one of those, like, they're very much in the mix now, but they would be just even that much closer, right? This season is the anomaly season with the records everywhere they are. Did I want to see the Gamblers lose? No. Is it okay that it's the Showboats? I guess I'll let it happen. I guess it's fine. Sometimes you got to let some other people win. In my mind, the Gamblers, this is a strategic loss, right? Now, Zach, you've known me long enough. I'm crazy. And in my opinion,
you're your own special kind of crazy in a good way. I gotta clarify that. It's not actually crazy.
You want this loss. You want this. This is the humble loss. You go in, you win out the rest of the season because we're gonna all in, and then we're gonna sweep the playoffs. Clearly, we're gonna sweep the championship. And we won't even take the pity loss next year. We'll actually go all in, 12-0, 2024. For our another back-to-back championships after this year, of course.
We're talking about season 3?
Oh, yeah.
Season 3? No, I'm kidding. Although we are talking about, there have been some talks about season 3. That's what's funny. Later. Hold on 1 second before we get to that. No, I think you're right. I think that the Gamblers are still right in the thick of things. That's the thing. And the best way I can put how this got out of hand for them, I mean, I'll get, like I said, I give Memphis a ton of credit. Secondary wise, they did a great job in the secondary. What they did even better, Mark Thompson.
Oh yeah.
He got his TD due. Yardage wise though,
No, they were good.
I got stalled out.
They were good at shutting him down. Yeah,
they did a really good job shutting him down to the line. And that to me, ever since he's come back, and with Kenji Bahar still, I'll give him another week of getting back in the swing. Next week I can't do that, but him getting back in the swing from getting knocked out for a week injury. I mean, he's been the offense. And then finally they realized second half, okay, we need to start being a little more aggressive downfield because we can't do what we've been doing.
Sure. Yeah.
So you hope next week you're back to your same spot. Now, credits against Pittsburgh, probably going to have an angry Jaron Horton-led squad that just gave up 37 to Philadelphia. So that'll be fun to see how that goes. But, take what you can, lick your wounds, and try again
100%.
When you go to Canton, Ohio.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which leads us to the final game of week 7, Michigan Panthers on the road for the first time in 4 weeks. Zach, what do we know? The first 2 weeks, the Panthers, they win. They're on the road. They come to Ford Field. Yeah. 4 consecutive losses. And then here we are on the road. And here, I don't know. I will say, I grew up in Detroit. I've been around a lot of Detroit football.
Yep.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm going to be there at that final game, Zach. I'm going to do whatever I can to help the Panthers win because, I every now and then I like to dabble as the number one Panthers fan. So my hope is, as I go there, I pull on the full shtick. You guys lose, which means the Gamblers win, which will lead us into the playoffs. All in. Sign us up.
I want to give you some gratitude. I'm glad you're admitting out loud that this is the shtick, and that I wasn't sitting here for 2 weeks just going, no, this is a shtick. And some people probably going, wow, Zach's pretty mad for him.
No, it wasn't a shtick. No, it wasn't a shtick. It was all real. I mean, hey, get over it. This week, though, I mean, was it a pretty win? By no means. Was it a win? Sign them up. They got signed up. There was, a couple things happened in this game. Darius Victor, first player in modern USFL history to hit 1,000 rushing yards. Sign him up.
Bingo.
Sign him up over there. The Panthers, they finally got that win on the road. We'll have to see. We only have one more home game. This could be, it's funny. Everybody joked last year, 5-5. The Panthers are going to go 5-5 because of Jeff Fisher. They might this year. But you know what? Is it an improvement? Yep. Could they get in the playoffs with that record? They can. They can. They absolutely can. Generals, man, I mean, they took not only a tough loss in the game, but a tough loss on the field. DeAndre Johnson, my man, he got hit pretty hard out there.
Yeah, that was bad thwacking.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
Now, there was a bit of an update, and this came from the USFL Comms on Twitter, and they state, after being carted off the field, DeAndre Johnson's doing well after his initial evaluation. He's moving all 4 extremities, and they're talking to medical staff and orientated to get further medical attention. So, I mean, that in itself is a good sign. That's something nobody ever wants to see that in a game. In the Discord, people were wiling out. People were getting very angry about the hit and about the whole situation. And I get it. You don't want to see it. And it almost makes you wonder if DeAndre Johnson was in the rest of this game, do the Panthers still get that win? And I don't know. I don't know if they do.
Hard to say. I mean, I will say that Michigan at least got the momentum second half to where they were kind of just doing what they wanted eventually. Give props to Kyle Letta for doing what he needed to keep this thing moving. It's his best performance he's had all year under center, of course, in relief in this case. And actually, he started the game out, was then benched because, of course, he should have been benched originally. And you saw it too. I mean, DeAndre Johnson, even though he's had misses downfield, accurately throws a beautiful deep pass third quarter to get him back within 2 points. I mean, it was gorgeous. Back shoulder, perfect spot needed to get a touchdown. And it's a shame to see him out because he is the more athletically gifted QB that I think does give the Generals that edge to try and get this second playoff spot with them being down now. That's what sucks. And I mean, I don't expect him to be back given the circumstances this season, probably for safety. I would imagine. Sure. I would not want to. But it's a shame. It is. I mean, I do think that you can argue that him being in there does help enhance things at least. But the way this went, I mean, Michigan, as much as it was an ugly first half, things that have been happening at home, they avoided. Thank God. Now, no turnovers, by the way. No team committed a turnover, but Michigan's especially being clean, playing a clean football game. That goes a long way. Honestly, that right there, I think it's like one of the ultimate key stats is that they didn't see any weird turnovers, that you didn't have as many, pressures or sacks given up on the defensive end. Just looking at the Generals, the Panthers only gave up one sack. They'd protected Josh Love pretty well. Love actually did a great job getting rid of the ball in a timely manner. Something that on this show we've been talking about is that he holds onto the football too long. He did a great job saying, hey, I got to get rid of this damn thing. And there were a few moments, that Joe Walker touchdown where it was a bit of magic for Walker to kind of break on down the left sideline. Josh got rid of it as he's getting hit. Previous weeks, Josh would usually take that hit or would cough it up in some way, shape, or form. That time stuck in it, delivered. And he only had a 55% passing completion percentage. Not great, can work on that. But I'll take it if you're throwing for 265 yards and getting your guys open, throwing for 3 touchdowns. That's the Josh Love I expected and I was sold on 2 weeks in. And it disappeared at home. Curse or not, I don't care what you want to say. Road Warriors, if you want. Could pull out the Mad Max reference.
Sure.
I don't care. Nonetheless, that's the guy I need to see playing. Still had the pass breakups. That's what killed me. Still is not throwing it high enough above the line. It's definitely on him. It's not his line.
Right.
This is definitely a arc that he throws. But you got that. Reggie Corbin getting 20 carries, by the way, something he hasn't been getting, which, don't get me wrong, Stevie Scott's athletic, but, hey, if one's the hotter hand and one proved last year was the hotter hand, maybe that helps. It also helps when you throw 265 and you have the defense on its toes. Totally different game. 120% QBR rating for Josh Love. Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
I have not seen that number anywhere close to it in the last 4 weeks. And of course, I haven't seen Trey Quinn throw a completion, but we have that too.
Sure. Well, you know what I thought was really interesting about this game too? This is a battle of the 2022 Maulers quarterbacks. You got Lauletta on one side, Josh Love on the other. And so there was a little bit of poetry in that in itself. And I mean, it was a good game at the end of it. I mean, the Panthers probably should have had probably a larger lead. Another thing I thought was interesting is we saw a little bit of inconsistency out of Cole Murphy, and it wasn't like, it was almost reverse, where he's knocking in 50-plus yard field goals, but he'll miss an extra point or miss from 20, 30 yards away. But those 50-plus field goals, no problem, no issue. So, chalk it up.
Got to be automatic with those XPs. You can't go 1 for 3.
Right.
That can bite you. I mean, think about this. You're talking that, if the Generals get one good possession back and they're able to retain possession after they score and get that 22-25 score, or if they get one of the 3-point conversions that they attempted during their last 2 touchdown drives, we're talking overtime. Right. So, you got to execute. That's a thing that's to little things. It is a field goal length, but you should be pretty automatic. Mostly the majority of kickers in this league are pretty automatic at this point to where I almost hold them to an NFL standard anymore. Sure. Because over half of them have been that quality of kicking so far in the season. So that was a bit tighter than I expected. Also, it would have been very fascinating to talk about this game if we went to OT off of a 3-point conversion, but going it's tough. Panthers defense held when it needed. And, here we are. I mean, stats don't lie either. I mean, I haven't seen Michigan get close to 400 yards total offense in a while. And, 258 for most USFL teams is a solid day. But in this regard, if you can hold the Generals to 258, you're doing A-okay.
Now, one thing that was interesting, it didn't necessarily come out of this game, but it's came out of the team since then. Eric Berrier released without even getting any playing time this year.
That's wild.
He lands now in New Jersey a week after they played them. I guess it was smart to wait until to cut him just for that reason alone. I mean, it makes sense, especially with DeAndre Johnson possibly being, I mean, he's definitely, I would assume, going to be out for this next game, probably for the rest of the season. That's not based on anything I heard. That's just me making an assumption.
That's what I'm speculating on too, is, you know, and things could change. You know, I can't, again, can't be confirming anything without hearing anything yet, but that's going to come out soon with the injury report. But I don't imagine unless it is like, he is healthier than expected. Week 10, they're on the fringe and they need him to go. And he's like wanting to go, not the team. He's wanting to go. Then sure. But you pick up Berrier, you might as well say, look, dude, your health comes first.
Yep.
Which, by the way, I actually wonder what you think. Berrier, I was calling for Berrier to play.
I think we all were. I think everybody was. Yeah.
Love has this performance out of the blue, so now I have no what to deal to expect. But I almost feel like Mike Riley, knowing Mike Riley, for some reason will say, you know, I've been wanting to play Berrier.
I absolutely, I don't know if we'll see Berrier this weekend, just because, I mean, it's a little bit of a short runway, but do I think we see him play by the end of the year? 100%. And you know what? You might be pissed off. He might go out there and do everything that you wanted him to. And you're going to be like, why did we give it away to, especially to another team in the North? I never understand. Well, it wasn't a trade, so you can't really control it. But still, I mean, you opened up that opportunity when I don't even know if you needed to.
Yeah, it's something I'll watch for as well. And actually, I think this is more realistically what will happen. They do have to go to Proof Cup on that roster. My guess is what will really happen is Berrier will go to the inactive roster, and you'll see Dakota get elevated. But now I do question, do you put Dakota in for package? I mean, they have packages for mobile QBs. Dakota is a mobile quarterback. We saw early in the year. I'm guessing he gets time. I don't know anymore with Mike Riley. Mike, I love the man to death. The guy is like one of the easiest to like root for coaches in the league because of how humble and, you know, kind he is as an interviewer and as a guy when you have conversation. But like we've talked, he loves doing I'll manipulate my roster and kind of, you know, more go for the film for the player, more for the players side, which let them get film, let them play and all that, which does cause this year, at least, very much more of a confusion going, cool, I hope they're good enough out there to win whoever you threw a QB, you know. So we'll find out. I mean, they got a tough matchup ahead. We'll discuss a little bit with the Showboats, but I mean, let us back in the driver's seat.
Oh yeah,
one way or another.
One way or another. At least we'll see this weekend when the game comes up. But overall, Week 7, fun week. You know, I finally got a loss. Your team finally got a win. But at the end of the day, we all won because these were all some close games, all within one possession. So you kind of have to love that when everything's competitive. Before we move into the big interview of the week, I do want to point out a good stat that our friend RJ Young posted over on Twitter earlier this week. And so he labels it Wild USFL Stat. So he goes on to say 38% of kickoffs were returned in the NFL last year. 93.5% of kickoffs have been returned in the USFL this year, with three of them returned for a touchdown. And this doesn't include the Derek Dillon's 109-yard missed field goal returned for a touchdown, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you're a league executive, you're the guy that's helping figure out the rule books. You're looking at the ins and outs of the daily operations. We heard Mike Pereira talk about this earlier before the season started about why, you know, they were changing the kickoff slightly. Their goal was to get into a certain percentile rate ranking. And boy, oh boy, I think they're knocking it out of the park here because I think it might have topped off at 90, but if they're hitting 93.5%,
I'm glad you said it. 90% was the target because they hit 81 last year. They hit 80, but they wanted that extra 10. And so that 5-yard difference is making just like we talked about, it is making a massive difference, not only in the kick returns, but also in the freaking starting yardage that we're seeing this too right now. And the kickoff average it's pretty significant yardage they're getting up there. Most kicks, as long as you have a competent enough return team, you're easily getting within the 35 on your side of the ball. That is huge to get points at this level.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, does it not add to the excitement of the game, especially, again, it doesn't count the Derek Dillon return because that was off of a missed field goal. But we saw 3 touchdowns returned so far from these kicks. And I mean, just like you said, there's so many of these kickoffs where you see not only 35. I mean, the Stars seem to be especially good with their returns where they're getting to like 40, 50 some of these in a lot of instances. And I mean, all of that helps, especially if you can rely on a kicker, right? If you can rely on a solid kicker and you can get yourself to the 40, 45 consistently, that means you only have to go maybe like 20 yards a drive to get at least some points on the board, right? I mean, so you got to love it. You got to love it for the excitement of the game. I figured it was worth bringing up because I kind of like interesting stats. RJ Young, Synergy, let's get signed up. Now, I do think that leads us interview of the week, leading the North. We got the Philadelphia Stars. Zach, tell them about who you met up this week.
Well, I got to meet up with the interception leader in the league himself, Amani Dennis, for the Philadelphia Stars. Someone that I have had the pleasure of getting to watch his game that I think is definitely getting the recognition he has been deserving as of this year. Got to talk a lot about just kind of really retooling and re-gearing for the second half. Just kind of the messages that both defensive coordinator Brad Miller and head coach Bart Andrus have been preaching since that loss to the Houston Gamblers, since things have turned around post that blowout. And just kind of the fact that he once was a quarterback in high school and is playing defensive back. You'll get to hear about all this and a little bit more right now on this current conversation. Take a listen, everyone. Welcome, everyone, into the latest edition of the USFL podcast interview series, bringing you the latest from players, coaches, and personalities from around the United States Football League. Today, I am pleased to be bringing in someone who is leading the league in interceptions right now and has really been helping bring a defensive resurgence for those folks over in the North, those previous North champions from last season that have found a new path, I would say, in the last 3 weeks. It is Amani Dennis joining me today on the USFL podcast player interview series. Amani, hey, first off, again, congrats on the win this past week. Congrats on just turning things around. I mean, how are you doing right now? You know, I mean, does it even come into your mind that, you know, that massive defeat to Houston was only 3 weeks ago?
I mean, yeah, we have a thing right now that we're kind of talking about in the defensive room, talking about next play mentality. And we knew we had a rough game versus Houston, but, you know, there's a next game the next week, and the next game is the most important game. So we've just been doing a better job preparing and stuff like that during the practice week and then in the film and the playbook. And, you know, stuff's been lining up as of lately. So, you know, now it's just about continuing to elevate and keep doing what we're doing.
Right. I think a lot of us have been asking just kind of, you know, what is being said in there. I know, for example, and I love you speak on this, after you guys won against New Jersey Generals, you know, your own teammate, Luis Aguilar, kicking for a pro record 8 field goals in that one. Great defensive effort at times against the Generals too. I think Coach Andrus said it the best, and I love this quote, was that, hey, we're here 2-3. It is 0-0 across the board. I imagine that had to have been taken to heart very much so across the entire team, because that seems to be the mentality right now, is you guys have just been guided by that post-game kind of pep talk from the coach.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we're just focused on going 1-0. I mean, the message last week, this past week, was talking about how now we could keep control and not being able to look back in the mirror and, you know, kind of see who's after us and stuff like that. Now we could keep control, and that's what we did by winning that last game. So, yeah, now we got a good test with Birmingham, and, you know, yeah, it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I'll definitely want to ask you about some thoughts on Birmingham, maybe comparing from this year, past year, of course, last summer. I do want to get first into this, though. Obviously, Coach Andrus has had his own thoughts. He's been pretty cool, calm, collected so far through this entire process. It's been a season, to say the least. You still got plenty of, I would say, runway left to go before things are even settled right now. How has defensive coordinator Brad Miller been taking this? Like I said, I mean, anytime I've seen and I don't mean to bring up bad memories with the Houston contest, but anytime I see a game like that as a person watching, I think either you're throwing the tape away or someone's grilling you after the fact, and it is boot camp season next week. How was that leak weeding in? How have things been since then?
After that week, it was a little more just, I would say, reality checks going around. People realizing how bad that, some of the stuff that was going on film and stuff like that. So, but he's the main one who's also preaching next play mentality. So, like I said, it's just about, taking it a play at a time, and whether if that play went good or bad, it's about the next one, and same thing for the game. So that's what we've been doing, and it's been paying off.
Been paying off in dividends. Yourself, you're having an excellent season, 3 interceptions, leading the league right now. 2 weeks ago, sealing the deal against New Orleans, your pick 6 was the deciding factor in that contest. How do you evaluate your game year over year from last year? I've enjoyed watching you play. I think you're one of the better defender. This is my personal opinion. I think you're one of the better DBs in this league, and I've enjoyed watching you when I get to see you play for the Stars. How do you evaluate your game year over year that you've seen yourself on tape or maybe in your own preparation?
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way. But I mean, the biggest thing for me is just like my story's a little different. I changed positions 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so I'm still learning at corner, and for me, it's just about elevating. Just learning, literally. I realized after last year that I'm at the point where I'm not one of the more athletically gifted guys or one of the only ones on the field. Like, everybody out there is nice too.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? So now it's more getting my technique right and learning the little stuff that comes with the position. But yeah, right now I'm really just all about elevating my mind, everything, my play, everything. That's my focus right now. It's just elevation.
Yeah, get it to the next step. Obviously, building upon things. I think, like I said, for yourself, for the Stars, it's been great to see so far. Coming up ahead, and let's dive into this now. I guess rip the Band-Aid off. You're playing a team that, yes, it's had a few changeovers, but this is a squad you guys took on. Last memory is that July 4th weekend that we all have as USFL fans have not forgotten. A great game. Didn't go your way though. How do you prepare? First off, just the fact that you're playing the QB that played second half in Alex Magoo, someone that now has had more tenure under his belt, and now you got to prepare because he's even more mobile than last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's a good quarterback. Can't take nothing from him. They're a very good team. Disciplined, got some athletes, but I mean, this is just another week for us. Like, we're not looking at it like no Super Bowl or anything like that. We're just, like I said, another 1-0 week. Take everything a day at a time, a play at a time, and preparing that way. It doesn't matter who we're lining up against. We're just gonna prepare, and when the game comes, we'll see who's the better team.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, hey, I think right. I mean, you're playing 1 versus 1 essentially at this point, so you're definitely gonna be finding out who's the better between the two divisions right now. I'm trying to think for yourself here. You're talking about changing over position, from playing in college. I mean, how's been your transition, kind of getting used to DB role, from where you were playing previously?
Yeah, so I played free safety in college. Just a little background. At my high school, I played quarterback. I didn't even play defense. I think I got like one game when I was a corner for a little bit, like a couple plays in the game, but that was it in high school. And then college, I went to free safety. I had 3 years at Carthage College, a D3 school in Wisconsin. Did my thing over there, did what I was supposed to. Went to my pro day, ran a good 40, got invited to Cleveland. They had me at nickel over there, and that was my first time playing nickel. And that's kind of where I was a little bit introduced to corner, but not really. Like, I was just there for minicamp, so it was 3 days, and they had me at nickel for 90% of the reps. And then when I went to the spring league is when I changed over to corner. And yeah, it's been a transition, but I mean, I trust my God-given abilities, and on top of that, I work real hard. I realize that I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in, and because of that, like, I work hard because I know what it's like and what it's been like for me to get to the point where I'm at right now. So I just, yeah, like I said, it's just an elevation mentality, just continuously trying to keep elevating and, yeah, get better.
So let me ask you this then, because I find that fascinating. QB to free safety, essentially. How does one transition that? I've heard, you talk about, I've talked with people that they've transitioned because of speed or they have certain physical attributes, that makes them capable of kind of fitting into that role or kind of getting used to that role.
Yeah.
How do you go from QB to free safety? Like I said, that seems like I think to some, that'd be quite a jump. You're going from being the guy that doesn't want to get hit often to essentially the dude that should be the free roaming bruiser on the defensive secondaries end, if catch my drift.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, it was a smooth little transition for the main reason that everything that I knew that I did or didn't like from a safety when I was playing quarterback in high school, I just transitioned it to the other side now. Now I'm at safety. Now I know what he doesn't like. I know what, he does like. So kind of just did it that way and then let my athletic ability, take over and stuff like that. But yeah, it wasn't really as tough, I would say, besides like footwork and stuff like that. But that was something that I was always doing. Even playing offense, I was doing footwork stuff. So yeah, it's just transitioning over to now moving backwards as opposed to looking forward and running forward.
Right. And at least good news for you. You kind of, I guess you get a little bit of expertise knowing kind of the quarterback info, or at least some of that, where it's like, okay, if maybe maybe you see the QB's eyes in that regard as a DB. Maybe you can get a little bit instinct off that, I would assume, just because, I mean, you have that background. So I would have to imagine that helps you, if I'm looking at someone, it's my guy, and I'm looking at him dead to rights, there's no turning off, there's no, second option. I would be assuming if I turn my head around, I know this guy's going to get the ball. And I'm going to be trying to get it batted down, or I can go for a pick if I'm ready to go, because a lot of DBs, to me, I think if they turn their heads around, there's a lot more interceptions that could happen if you just turn your head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's a big technique thing, especially a corner. Like, I feel like at free safety, you kind of have time on your hands, and if you have speed, that means you kind of have more time in a way. So, you can make more plays that way while being at free safety. But at corner, like, everything happens like this. So technique needs to be on point. You need to be ready to break whenever. So it's a little different. But yeah, I love it. And I'm getting better, and yeah, just trying to keep elevating, like I said.
Who in the league, you've been in the league for 2 years, so I got to ask, who's giving you the most fun battle, at least one-on-one for yourself, that you can think off of right now? I mean, you played all 8 teams, 2 different seasons, multiple different players. I'm generally curious.
You saying fun battle?
Well, or at least one that I think's a challenge that think like Calvin Johnson, Charles Tillman, how those used to be, like those one-on-ones, like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know really. I look at all receivers just for what they are. Like, each receiver has a different thing about them that they're good at, they're not good at. So different receivers are good for their own different reasons. So I couldn't really put a name on it, for real.
That's fair enough. What about in practice, perhaps? Now, I only ask because the Stars, to a lot of people, it's quite a loaded roster, to say the least.
Yeah.
You got to go against
Yeah.
Corey Coleman, that
Yeah.
is, in practice every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to my roommate, because when we first got to camp, I've been guarding Corey since day one of camp. And, he's been getting me right. And, he's a great look. And, I've gotten better because of it, and I embrace it. And, it's a blessing to be able to go against a lot of talented guys on our team. Like, we got Corey, we got Dev, we got a bunch of people. So, there's a lot of talent on our receiving core. So it's good to be able to go up against them every day.
For yourself, Amani, and as we're wrapping this up, I do got to ask, how have you viewed your USFL experience so far? 2 years in, you're getting to play pro football. What have you taken away from it so far? It's back end of now going into 2 years in an alternative league.
Yeah. Like I said, this is a blessing, honestly. I know what it's like to be on that other side. I know what it's like to be home, not knowing what to do with yourself and, kind of figuring your life out. And, I've been there. So this is honestly just a blessing for me, and especially the circumstances I come from a D3 school and, just continuously making a name for myself. So a league like this is perfect for me because I could use it to build my name, build my brand, whatever the case may be, and get to prove myself that, I could hang with these guys that have been there, done that, and, that I should be up there to go and do there or go up there and do that. So, it's a blessing. And, I'm thankful to be able to be in the USFL for sure.
Amani, it's certainly a pleasure to watch you play every week and to have you in this league. Can't wait to see how you fare this week in a massive challenge, getting to replay essentially last year's championship game now in the regular season once more. Should be a fun affair. We can't wait to watch you guys, and best of luck this weekend, and enjoy the rest of your journey in this league.
Thank you. Have a good one. Appreciate you.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks again to Amani Dennis, defensive back for the Philadelphia Stars, for joining us on this edition of the show. We're glad we're doing these weekly conversations. We're getting a lot more churning in this year, and I'm very happy for it because I love player combos. This one, like I said, it's always fascinating to me. And, Stefan, I think you'll agree with me, hearing about position changes, because there are some players, they want to fill out what they feel their skill set maybe can transition into. Because, again, in high school, he's a quarterback. Right. And that fascinated me in the interview. Like I said, I have to ask about that skew. But not just that. His original position when he switched over at Carthage, he's playing free safety. Right. Which, for any of you that follow defense, free safety and defensive back, they're different skill sets. They're both secondary players, but they have very different roles and utility depending on the setup. Safeties, you got to be more protecting, of course, the back line. You're the final line of defense. Free safety, as he was playing, that's the bruiser. You're getting a lot more range of motion to go around and do your thing. So switching to that and then being the DB, where you're more the chase guy, you're more trying to predict where you're going. You got to be more ready and on your toes when you're doing zones. That's fascinating to me. And not to mention that he's a quarterback. So you would understand, hey, if I'm seeing a route right now, what's my QB's tendencies? That stuff is fantastic for conversation. I love chatting about the fundamentals like that. And not to mention, as I've said, I think he's now getting a little more credit. Last year, I loved his game, and I talked about it on this show. But this year, now he's leading in picks. Now he's been one of the key stars, no full pun intended, that has been pushing this defense in the right direction. And he's been showing out. He has been coming to play every week, and I'm glad to have that conversation with him. Definitely deserving the recognition.
For sure, 100%. You always love to hear him. Looking forward to see what more interviews we have left up for the rest of the season and beyond. But you spoke with a Stars player, and now we have a news story relating to the Philadelphia Stars. And I'd say this is kind of a big story here. So it was announced earlier this week that the Stars have signed former Buccaneers wide receiver Cyril Grayson. Now, This guy, you were just talking about Amani Dennis and his interesting kind of come up into the game of football, switching positions. Well, Cyril has an interesting kind of path to where he is now as well. So we mentioned he played for the Buccaneers. He ended up winning a Super Bowl with the team. An injury kind of took him out. Now he's here in the USFL to rebound. But interesting stat for those that don't know, Cyril did not even play football in college. He was a track star. Now he played football in high school. He was a track star in college. And now due to the collegiate rules, he was unable to play both football and run track at the same time until he was a junior. But by the time he gets to a junior, the football scholarships are dried up. So he just kept running track throughout college. He ended up having a big day at the pro day where he went to school, made a name for himself. The Buccaneers took a shot on him, ends up winning the Super Bowl. Now the Stars are getting him when they're arguably playing, I don't want to say playing their best football, but they're definitely breaking away from the rest of the pack in the North. And now with two injuries, two key injuries, Chris Rowland, Jordan Sewell out for the season. I mean, this is the kind of pick you want to see if you're a Stars fan going into week 8, right?
You definitely want someone like this. Again, when you have Rowland and Sewell out, and they've been doing great. Corey Coleman has, early season, I think he was getting some of the ropes still, but him and of course Case Cook, they're finding much more of Rappaport recently. So that's fantastic. You want to see that grow. Devin Gray, he stepped up. He has been one of the key contributors on that receiving core this year, along with Pro Wells. Now you get a speedster, Cyril Grayson, and credit. I mean, it's not gonna be like this with pads and all that on, but dude runs a 4.3 40. Mm-hmm. That is just pure speed.
Right.
Out there, someone that I think is just wanting to get the touches, and they do need it. Like you're talking, when you use Jordan Sewell, who is a more big body guy, more lengthy, he can get up and get the physical ball. Chris Rowland, who is more the speedster at the slot, I do think that's where he fits in. Mm-hmm. Is you see him fill more of the Chris Rowland section, and they just let him just go.
Right.
Like I said, you give him some basic routes, you just let him burn people. Mm-hmm. And as long as Case can get you something, he can go do the rest. I bet he would be great on like slant routes. I bet he'd be great on some quick ins. Let him just run. Mm-hmm. Let him just go and outrun defenders. And that's an excellent addition. That did get a little bit of press, of course, on the Stars.
Yeah.
I mean, people remember him. He helped kind of during that Super Bowl run for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He helped score one of the go-ahead touchdowns against the Saints to help put them up. So definitely has the speed and the talent to get out there. I'm looking forward to watching him play. I don't know if he'll get out there and he'll do contributing right away, but I take it with you run a 4.33 and you need some more help in that position, at the very least to take away pressure off of Coleman and Gray so they can do a little bit more in the secondary, or you can be a nuisance. That's where they're going to use them at. I can't wait to see what Andrus does with them because Andrus has so much talent at his disposal, and second half coaches we've been talking about, he's getting better at adjusting on the fly to what fits best.
Oh, sure.
I'm looking forward to it so much, man.
Yeah.
Great addition.
Great addition for the team. Like I said, with the way that they've been playing lately, it's just such a big pickup for them going into the playoffs, because we're going to talk about what could happen this week in the playoffs a little bit later. But before we do, I think this is a great segue into playoff tickets are on sale. Now, last week, we were half speculating what is the situation with the playoffs. Is the North going to be in Canton or Michigan? What about the South? What does the South look like? Well, the good news is we have some answers, because earlier this week, the USFL officially put playoff tickets on sale for everybody to buy, not just season ticket holders. And so here's what we know. The North Division, it is now confirmed, is taking place at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, June 24th. So even if the Panthers or the Stars end up leading the North, that North Division game is going to be in Canton, which I can't be mad at that. Especially I was watching the games this weekend, and Tom Benson is a clean stadium. I mean, the field is so crisp and clean, man. It looks vibrant out there.
Well, first impressions last year, you and I, like it held up its end. Like it was really good looking.
Oh, 100%. I can't wait to get there again, which I hear Newsroom contributor James Larson's going to be at the Canton games this weekend. So if you see him on the sidelines, give him a sign you up. But South Division, so this is where we get a little bit more clarification. This is where things do come into play. The game could be in either Memphis or Birmingham, depending on who wins out in the South Division. And that, of course, takes place on June 25th. And naturally, as we've already known, the 2023 USFL Championship, Canton, Ohio, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, July 1st, which, of course, we're going to be there early for summer stock. Come and join us at 3 p.m. before the game. We're going to be having a blast. Zach, we know. Now we know. And if you're looking for tickets, you can go and buy them. Anything to add on this? I really didn't leave you much to talk about. I guess it's cool that we got playoff tickets, but
I mean, you didn't. Like, I'm happy. I'm happy for the league that you're going to see at least one team get a true home game, possibly. You know, because I think realistically, you are going to see one of them, whether it's Birmingham or Memphis, get it.
Right.
I don't know which, but there is a high chance at least one of them does. And I'm really happy for it, because that's another piece that I think people wanted to see, is like they want that home playoff experience and the like. So I'm hoping that is the case. Honestly, it'd be hilarious if the Breakers came back into the fold and you have a home game, well, an away game at Birmingham, at Protective, but it's all that home crowd comes out.
Oh, sure.
For a playoff game. That would be fascinating. What I do like as well what the league did with this, and this has been revealed through email chatter with social season ticket holders, it's been shown off from screenshots. If you do not say that Birmingham, for example, say that they don't get to host the game. You have Stallions fans buying tickets and they go, well, Memphis got the home bid.
Right.
Like Memphis or Houston got that game for themselves.
Right.
Well, if that doesn't go in your favor, they will automatically roll that into a deposit for next year's tickets.
Right on.
So if anything, you at least can consider this as almost like you can almost consider it as a safety deposit for next season, or you can get a jump start on your playoff seeding. I think that's a win-win. I mean, it seems like anything I've talked with season ticket holders, they've been doing a great job. Protective did a great job when we've been there for their games. And, you know, I know Memphis, saw last week, you know, Showboats fans are coming out even more and more every week.
Oh, yeah.
So
those wins help,
they're definitely not disappointed.
Oh, yeah. Those wins help.
It helps. Well, shoot, man. I mean, any winning helps and cures all ills.
Yes. No.
All ills, I would say. So there's that. I wish Michigan would be on the table, but I'll be frank. I think it's multiple factors. You know, availability is one of them, which we'll see if that keeps being a thing moving down the line, because it has been already stated that Daryl Johnston actually said, as we were talking today, that there's no doubt in their mind they'll be back next year in Detroit. So you have nothing to worry about. They're coming back next year for Detroit. But I think another part, if you don't have two dedicated home fan bases in the North, I feel it's almost a little unfair. I feel that's a little bit of parity to kind of just like, instead of letting one have home field advantage, we'll do equal playing field. And I could hear some folks, but the Stallions last year, yeah, okay, whatever.
Right.
They played in Canton last year. They made it an equal playing field. So the North, they're doing basically the same thing as possible, where, hey, you guys don't have two opposing hubs where one of them is a true host city. Like, you're not going to Pittsburgh or New Jersey.
Right.
So instead of trying to make it where it's Michigan or bust, let's just make the whole thing Canton, and then it's already nearby for Michigan or Philadelphia. It's a bus ride.
100%.
That's the thing. Like, it's a cheap like travel for them, and Michigan fans can come down. Philly fans can drive over, because we saw that championship last year. They'll drive over for that. So that's my logic. I mean, that was the only things I got. I'm glad they're getting it's out and about. That's what they were going to be doing anyway. I'm not saying that I secretly want to see a hub team get to be the number one seed and host it, but I kind of do to see the fandom come out.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
If it doesn't happen, it is what it is, but I ain't going to complain if Birmingham or Memphis gets it. And you see here's this. Imagine if Memphis and Birmingham finish the way they do right now. I know we didn't see it as much with the first game in Birmingham where Memphis travels. But we have more fans this time, and it's a playoff game.
Well, if it's a playoff
I
game,
imagine
some people
you'll
are
see
driving.
more people travel.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, either the yacht club or the horsemen are going to be making a trip, and you know it. You can book it. You can count on it and bet it's going to be happening. And honestly, I wish I had a little bit more cash, or I would go myself.
I wish too. The only scenario I'll be able to do this is I do have a few Birmingham fans or friends of mine that they're like, dude, you guys should go. And I'm like, it is on a Sunday, by the way, the South matchup. So I'm like, that's number one. Sure. I can do it if it's a Sunday. Number two, it's got to be one of the Birmingham. It's got to be one of those.
Right.
Like I go to Birmingham. At least it's got to be reasonable.
Yeah.
So we will find out, Fingers crossed. We'll find out.
I hope it works out. I won't be doing that, but I will be at the last game in Detroit, and I will be at the championship game. So I'm looking forward to that. One thing that, oh man, geez, really grinds my gears, Zach, because you know me, I'm a Michigan fan. I bleed blue and maize and blue. That's all I do, right? So I get it. Those Ohioans, they don't have much. So, but what do they get? They get the USFL / Ohio Football Legends Day. Some big and interesting names on this list, mind you. So this is for this weekend's matchup, Sunday, June 4th. Gates are opening up early for a free autograph session going from 11:30 to 12:30. Mm-hmm. We got, and this one surprised me right off the bat, Jim Tressel. Jim Tressel's going to be there, followed by Cardell Jones.
Also one that surprises me.
That's the one that I think I'm probably most surprised of. And I'll say, of course, he played for Ohio State, right? Big name at Ohio State. But he also played for the DC Defenders of the 2020 iteration of the XFL. So that one I got a little interested by. Beanie Wells, I mean, there's a huge list of guys here, Zach.
Antonio Pittman jumps off the page. Greg Pruitt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll tell you, to be honest with you, and for those that like other ones, I'll list off the rest for folks that are going. But I mean, besides that, you got Eric Metcalf, Frank Minifield, Hanford Dixon, Bo Pelini, I already said Greg Pruitt, but again, Greg Pruitt to add on to there. Wyatt Teller, Cleo Miller, Ben Davis, Felix Wright, Frank Stams, and Joey Brophy. Tressel, it's funny, I didn't know this. Jim Tressel coaches at Youngstown State. So he actually stayed in the state. He's at a smaller college scale right now.
Right.
The only reason I know that is he was on a very recent documentary for Big Ten Network talking about the 2002 Ohio State Buckeyes.
Right.
The championship team that he helped coach all the way there. One that I've learned a lot of quick stories and some uncertainties about their thoughts on getting that far.
But, I mean, still, Ohio State.
Tressel, a lot of people forget Tressel was one of the best college coaches for a long time until unfortunate scenarios and misdealings led to his downfall out of OSU. But I digress.
You know what? I'm going to keep my mouth shut on Jim Tressel. But you know my feelings on it, everybody. I'm just not going to say it. I'm just not going to say it. Go Blue. I know. Go Blue all in, whatever it takes.
For Youngstown State, go Penguins. Oh.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, but here's the real skinny. You live in Ohio. You're debating going to the game. I mean, this gives you one hell of a reason to go, if I'd say so. If you're an Ohio State fan or an Ohio football fan or just an old school USFL fan, I mean, there's enough interesting names on this list to go get a cheap ticket. Maybe go get one of those all-you-can-eat club tickets. Right? I mean, sign them up over there.
Yes.
And you go get some free autographs, enjoy the game. I mean, what better way to enjoy a Sunday going into the summer and soon the playoffs? So I figured we had to bring that up. I know I have my own opinions on Ohio, and so I'll keep them to myself. But you know what that leads us to, Zachy boy? Week 8 is upon us. I can't believe it. We're at week 8. Giving us only a few more weeks left in the season before we're looking at the playoffs. And when you look at the North, when you look at the South, I mean, things are blocked up. But in the North, as we talked about, the Stars are kind of pull away. And, I mean, playoff clinching scenarios here, that's the only one. Now, it's a little convoluted. There's a lot that needs to happen. But if the Stars win and the Maulers and Generals lose, the Stars have already clinched it. And, I mean, again, if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago who would be the first to clinch a playoff spot in either the North or the South, I think the Stars might be near, if not at the bottom of that list.
You'd be right.
So interesting twist. It can only happen in spring football. But let's run down the list. I mean, the league, they know what's good because they're starting out the weekend with arguably the best team in the league, the team that we already know that's going to win the championship, the team that's going all in and sweeping the rest of the season after our planned and scheduled loss last week. You can thank me later, Showboats fans. Well, this week they're taking on the Maulers. And I mean, which Maulers are they going to get? This game's taking place at 12 p.m. Eastern on USA. And you know what? Everything in me wants to say that the Gamblers are just going to run shop on the Maulers. Everything in me wants to say that the Gamblers are going to have just blow them out in the first half so they can rest and coast in the second half. But there's just something about this Maulers team that just they won't give up. They will play the stinker, and they seem to win the games that you don't think they're going to win. I do think the Gamblers edge this one out, but I do think it is going to be a close one. The thing that I think that's going to help us get across the line this week, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier, is Kenji Bahar. An extra week into the game, a little bit more rust off of the shoulders, off of the legs, getting back more into rhythm. And we kind of saw that last week where slow start all around for the Gamblers, just slow start all around. But once you started getting into that late third quarter, into the fourth quarter, it was like a completely different team. So I think they have the opportunity to rebound here. I don't think they need to give the Maulers a shellacking, but if they do, I'm not going to be mad at them. But at the end of the day, of course, I'm picking the Gamblers all in, baby, sweeping the rest of the season on our way to the championship. What do you think?
I think fandom or not, I also am going to pick Houston. Look, it was, of course, a bit of a sloppy loss that I think they let basically a victory out of the jaw. Let's say they grabbed a defeat out of the jaws of victory.
Sure.
Is what happened there. I got to go with them, though. Most overall balanced team. I know Pittsburgh's defense, I think it's going to come hungry. I don't think Jaron Horton at practice is going to be a very happy camper this week, given what happened against Philadelphia. I just have more offensive questions. I thought they had figured it out, but you're seeing what I've been seeing. You know, Houston's defense still is very formidable. It still gets after people. I don't know how. I don't exactly have faith that you're going to see Pittsburgh run a competent offense that allows Troy Williams to get time, given the circumstance. And I just don't know where you're going to find enough consistent offense that is the issue. I think like Memphis, at least they do have some competent competent parts. I thought Pittsburgh did. They don't right now. Right. But I'm going with Houston. I got to take them 5-3. They'll keep on pursuing the top of the South right now.
All in. So that takes us to the later game that day. Still a little bit early, 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC. We have the Stars and the Stallions. Zach, break this one down for me. What are you thinking here?
Ooh, boy. The rematch of the championship and another matchup between two top teams in the league. The two top teams in the current standings in the league right now have to take each other on over in Birmingham. It's going to be a whiteout, by the way. That was announced this week. Apparently the league is sponsoring that. We'll see what they're all doing for it, but it's going to be a whiteout at Protective Stadium. So bring your white gear or your white T-shirt you got week one. Yep. I still have that, by the way, if you know what we're talking about. But in terms of that, you're going to have a rowdy crowd. Philadelphia doesn't really matter. They played in rowdy crowds already this season, home or away. They've been getting things done. I'll be honest with you. I liked what I saw Birmingham-wise in terms of defensive progression, getting after McLeod Bethel-Thompson last week. I need to see that get revamped. The fact, again, that the Maulers only got one sack on Case Cookus. That means it's been great adjustments so far in the second half of the season by Bart Andrus. And I'm wondering, can he keep on getting that done? I think he can. The Stallions still aren't the best at getting pressure to the QB, but it's been getting progressively increased as the weeks have gone by. John Chavis, I think, is getting a little bit more risk-taking with his blitzes, and it's been paying off. We'll see if that Andrus can take advantage of that. On the defensive side, Philadelphia, you got to keep up what you've been working well. Basically covering in as a blanket in the secondary, and you got to keep Alex Magoo in the pocket or behind the line of scrimmage in some way, shape, or form. Containment. You were able to keep him in place. Things can go your way. Sky's the limit. And it's funny. I originally had the Stallions pinned for this, but the more I think about it, I like what Philadelphia is doing right now. Mm-hmm. I really liked what I saw last week, and it gave me a little bit of confidence. Maybe I'm a little overconfident in this. I originally put in my own run the pool table for the league that I put the Stallions as the pick. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to put Philadelphia. I talked myself into it. I just am wondering, given the fact that the Stars have done such a great job with adjustments, I'm wondering where the Stallions will get and curb that momentum is the thing.
Right.
I want to see where they can kind of get some inroads. Mm-hmm. Not saying it's out of reach, but I'm going to go Philadelphia.
Interesting play, interesting pick. I mean, either way you look at it, it is interesting, right? It's a replay of the championship last year. It's the two division leaders going head to head, and both of which have had their ups and downs this season. I see it being anyone's game. Me personally, I think the Stallions are going to pull it out. I think that whiteout's going to help them put them over the edge. But honestly, this one's a coin flip to me, and it feels like it shouldn't be, but on paper, it really is. It is.
It's feeling
crazy,
like it a little bit, ain't
right?
It? Yeah.
Now, leading me to the first game Sunday, the early Sunday game, 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox, we have the Showboats, we have the Generals, and I'll be honest, I'm doing a little flip-flop here, too. I don't know if you saw me messing with the notes here. I originally had the Generals picked, and I don't know why. I think it came down to, well, we were talking about this in the Discord earlier. The Fox bet has the Generals favorited, very small, but small favorites in that matchup between the Showboats. And I was going to go with the Generals. I was going to go for that upset loss. But you know what? The more I think about it, we're talking a Generals team that they're not at their best. DeAndre Johnson's not in there. Even if they get Barrier or Prukup in there, they're going to have a little bit of rust on them because neither of which have seen much playing time or any this year. Whereas the Showboats, on the defensive end, they're doing all the right things. On the offensive end, Cole Kelly is just, he was the guy that they needed at the beginning of the season, and they could have a much different record than they do now. And even then, they're very well in the hunt. And at the end of it, I think the Showboats are going to pull this out. I think they will. Now, that's not to say, if Darius Victor has a hell of a day for the Generals, I think they can do it. So if the Generals can rely on their run game without losing the ball, I think they can win it. But if they have to rely on their passing game, I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done here. That's just the honest truth.
I think if you can find some inroads in running, that will help. Darius Victor is definitely the way to go, I think, if you want to kind of relieve some pressure off Kyle Lauletta. And again, Kyle Lauletta's, he's played and started in several games already by now. I just don't think they're that explosive when Kyle Lauletta's out there. That's my problem with the Generals. There's no it factor. Sure. If you have just Darius Victor and Trey Williams out there, where's the other it factor? That was what DJ was bringing to your squad. Was okay, he can run an RPO. He's that fast, but he also has a cannon. He also is accurate too, to where he can deliver an intermediate route. So now you don't really you have the guy that if you give him a pocket, he can throw. And the Generals do have a pretty good line, but beyond that, there's not much escapability. They did try running some RPO again 2 weeks prior against the Gamblers, and I didn't understand why, because Lauletta's not really that speedy. And I'm imagining they're going to try it again, or they bring in packages for Dakota Prukup. I'm going to see what happens there, but I'm guessing that is the play, is that they will say, okay, we'll put you in the DJ role, or we'll evolve as we go in the game and put Dakota in if things go that way. I was shocked Memphis was put as a 2-point underdog for this. Baffled. Right. Like I had to reread my app. I had to reread the freaking ticker on FS1 that Fox Bet put them as a -2. They've won 4 games in a row against the top tier opponents in this league.
Right.
And they're a -2 against a 2-5 General squad that lost their starting QB. You got to know something I don't know, because that is very damning by them to put a -2. Like I'm not a betting man, but that is one where I'm like, if it's not on Fox Bet because of my certain obligations, I will not mention
synergy.
Then, then I would be putting down at least a minimum small little thing to test it out because I got the Showboats too, just being frank. And if I'm going to tell you one thing the Generals don't want right now is if you're a non-explosive offense, you don't want a defense that wreaks havoc. That's what the Showboats are. That's not a good matchup.
No.
I would not be picking the Generals in any scenario. I'm going with Memphis in Canton.
I wonder.
Just saying.
I wonder what the Bear will have on his pick list this week and how it relates to this game.
I bet he picks the +2.
Oh yeah.
You watch when that comes out. It will say +2 Memphis.
Right.
Or we'll do like the under because I could also see the under hitting for this one. Just given the two defenses and the inconsistency on both sides offensively through the air. So. -2 though for the Generals, that drives me nuts. I can't believe that's a betting line.
Hey, you know what? That's how
crazy.
You know what? These betting guys though, they know things that we don't. So that I'm telling you, there was a lot of me that wanted to pick the Generals just based on that line alone. I have a problem.
I'm gonna rip some NBA on you, but the Heat were putting at freaking plus like 8.5 for like 5 games.
Man, the Heat, what a run!
They even got upsets.
What a run by the Heat! I thought they were gonna bungle that so hard. I was like, how are you going to lose this to the Celtics? How are you going to lose this to the dirty, dirty Celtics? They get what they get. I don't ever know I would ever root for the Heat because, I mean, I'm a Pistons fan and we lost to them too. But I could never root for the Celtics. I could never root for the Lakers. So I'm kind of loving this NBA Finals with the Nuggets and the Heat, a number 1 seed versus a number 8 seed. The number 8 seed already went through the other number 1 seed and the number 2 seed. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. Let's make it happen. You know somebody's mad about that lineup. Anyway, I'm going to do you a favor. So you get the final pick of the week, but I'm going to give you a little hint. Ref's Law. Panthers are on the road. Panthers are on the road here.
Well,
I think you know who to pick, but they're taking on the Breakers, 4 p.m.
Well, I'm going to pick it too because I also am going to put my law into effect and root for your squad, which by de facto means the one that I actually wanted to win. I'll not be rooting for, but it will win. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see how that works.
Basically, mine's like it's kind of like an opposite day type of effect. I can't be looking at this one that I want. You know, it's worked in Super Bowls for me. It worked last week. I'm doing it. I'm probably going to do it again.
You're a horrible fan, Zach.
Oh, I'm a horrible fan. Don't worry. I celebrate after the final bell or the final whistle. Trust me. I do plenty. Look. This one, though, if I'm going to be honest with you coming in, even if I'm not putting either law into effect, two of the generally sloppy team in terms of the Breakers last 3 weeks, and the Panthers have mostly been that sans last week. So, hey, all I'm going to put, it's simple. Who plays a cleaner game? That's it. Because I think that, you know, defensively, it's a good matchup for both. Both of them are kind of like these middle-of-the-road defenses. They are opportunistic. They can get pressure on you. Secondary play is pretty solid for both. I don't have really problems with that. It really comes down to which offense is going to get out of its own way and essentially be more efficient. You know, Josh Love, which Josh Love are you, man? I need to see maybe not 3 touchdowns every week, but like I know that 3 TD, 250-plus yard game is in you. So am I going to see this again? I don't want to see home Josh Love, you know, and get the damn passes over the line. Don't give me multiple pass breakups because you can't throw it over the lineman. That's on you. It's on linemen sometimes, but when it becomes a habit, that's on you for passes and the way that you throw the ball. As for McLeod Bethel-Thompson, I think he just is angry enough to where he will his way to a win here. Not that I'm going to discount the Panthers whatsoever, but I think that you could tell it's go time.
Oh, yeah.
They have been sitting and missing opportunities for 3 straight weeks. I think that Michigan does slip up here as much as it is a road game. We can do the superstition. We can do the laws. New Orleans, to me, the fact that, I mean, to me, they're on paper, they're a better team. I got to put it that way.
Right.
I think on paper, they are the better team. I have them in a win, but by God, if Michigan pulls it off, I mean, continue the questions because, I mean, I don't know what's going on with with the folks that are representing NOLA, but it's not been pretty for about a month.
No,
and
no.
You can't let another slip up happen. They know it. You know, they should start putting the freaking standings up in protective the way that Todd Haley does, because apparently that's working.
Right.
That's good motivation.
I think you said it best, though. On paper, the Breakers should win this game. I mean, overall, the rest of the season, they've just had a better team.
This is what's wild to me. They even through this 3-game losing streaks, Stefan, They still have the top in terms of yardage for passing, rushing, and receiving.
Mm-hmm.
They still lead all three categories, but they have lost 3 straight weeks.
Right.
They are still that potent, but they have lost 3 straight weeks to their own issues.
Well, and again, if you're a Breakers fan, you're not loving it, but I can't go against reality here. Me personally, I have to go Panthers because they're on the road. Now here's the thing, Zach, this is what's wrong with me. It's in my best interest for the Panthers to lose because refs law states if the Panthers lose, you get a gambler's win. But I also know Detroit, Ford Field, whatever it is, the juju in the air out there. Maybe I brought it, but I don't think I did. I think Detroit football was long scuffed before I got around. But I did come to Ford Field, and you guys pooped the bed. Now, but anyway, I think the Road Warrior mentality continues. I think they're going to win. Is it going to be pretty? No. Are they going to edge it out by the skin of their teeth? Probably. But I think they get the win. I think they get that road win. I think we go there week 10, and I'm in Detroit to fix everything for you. I'm going to undo it all so you can get a win.
This is the one I'm actually the most on the fence about. That's what kills me. Even with me flipping my pick for Philadelphia, I know what the thing is. I know what Michigan is at their best and their worst.
Right.
And there's no middle. It's a polarizing left or right with how this team performs on the turf is the deal. New Orleans, we know that they're good. They I don't know what's going on. Maybe the fact they just can't get out of their own way.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. There's some sort of juju going on here. I cannot trace down as the problem beyond just more pressure and QB scenarios that aren't going the right way. It's just, I'm very on the fence with this. That one's a hard one for me to say New Orleans, because I could see it. I could see it not being that very easily.
Oh, yeah.
If things go the right direction.
Well, again, the way the Breakers have been playing lately, I mean, this is going to be an interesting game to see how these teams are going to move forward going into the rest of the season, because there's not a lot of time left after this week. I mean, we're getting right to the end of it, and it just seems like yesterday we were at spring stock, and here we are heading into week 8. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to get back on the winning side of things out here in Houston, all in, because like I said, you'll get used to the phrase, gamblers win, all in, getting signed up. And you know what? The ref is back. It ain't easy being the ref. I had to come back. I mean, your Panthers, dude, I mean, they didn't hold up to their side of the bargain. They had to go and win. They had to go and get a win. So my gamblers had to take a loss. But you know what? I think they're going to get another win again.
Play on the road at some point.
I mean, there's some things you just can't, no matter how much you want to fight, you're not going to win. And that's Detroit getting a win on the road. You're just not going to fight against that. The juju ain't there. So we'll see how things play out this week. I'm hoping maybe ref's law finally goes out of effect and we get both a Gamblers and a Panthers win. But only time will tell, and you guys need to tune in to see it happen live. Any last thoughts before we ride into the sunset and head into week 8 here?
Have some fun just watching the chaos that is going to be week 8.
Oh yeah,
it's all I can tell you. I love parody, and I love when I have to feel uncertain about some picks, just because it means that I got good football games ahead.
Exactly right. If we get a repeat,
I got 2 that I am in my head. I'm like, I know these will be good.
Oh yeah,
I at least they should be.
Right.
Michigan, please play close. I don't care if it's a win-loss. Honestly, I do prefer a win, but make it a close one. Make it fun. That's all I ask.
Right on. Right on.
Competitive.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. And if last week's any indicator, I hope these games are super competitive. I hope they're close. And boy, you know what? Maybe we can get some overtime action coming, because I thought it was going to come in this previous week. So I thought so too. I'm hoping we see it. We're getting there. We're getting closer. Before we head out, just a couple of housekeeping things. Social media, what the hell are you doing at USFL Podcast? Make sure you're following us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're even over on that TikTok. If you're over on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Click the bell. It builds morale, and get signed up. Because when you do those things, you're also entered into our 5K giveaway, where you can win a fresh, brand new jersey, fresh, hot off the presses from the USFL official store. So you know you're not going to want to miss that. But speaking of merch, head over to breakingt.com/USFL newsroom for 10% off of all of the different USFL collection stuff. Like I said, we got a new Josh Love shirt, and I am going to steal this one. So Ducky brought this up in the chat. Should have been Live, Laugh, Love. Should have been Live, Laugh, Love. So I'm going to, maybe I'll make my own version of that shirt. I'll be honest, Zach, no joke. I bought that Josh Love shirt for somebody. They're going to love it. Pun intended, get signed up. So if you want to buy that Josh Love shirt for somebody else as well that is a huge Michigan Panthers fan, you might as well scoop up that 10% using coupon code USFL Newsroom. And summer stock, baby. Summer stock. 4 weeks away from day one. June 30th, July 1st. So nice. We're doing it twice. The party's in the parking lot for day two. Day one kicks off at 5 p.m. Eastern, right? Ohio's in the Eastern time zone. Yeah, 5 p.m. Eastern over at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're doing a group tour, so you want to get signed up on that. Come and witness history. The day before, we witness even more history starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, the party's in the parking lot in front of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're throwing a live pregame show and tailgate. So come on down. It's free. It's good times, good guests, and giveaways. We're going to be doing all sorts of things. We'll probably have some dogs. We might have some ribs, whatever. We're going to have it. Come and meet the podcast crew. We'll be announcing guest lists coming up, but it's sure to be a blast. The biggest party of the summer, that's for sure. And as more news comes out, we'll be dropping it on the show. Plus, one of us at least will have trading cards at the game. But Zach, we will get those trading cards in your suitcase.
I will put them in my suitcase. They're going to go in my suitcase. I will keep on getting harassed about them put in my suitcase.
We'll check in next week. We'll see. We'll follow this through, But I think that's about it this week. So everybody look forward to these games this week. We look forward to seeing you again next week, 9 a.m. Eastern every Friday. But until next time, sign you up.